I would like to welcome everyone to today's FAST-TRAK training lab. Today's session is brought to you by Collaborative Practice Solutions. Collaborative Practice Solutions offers both on-site and remote guidance to help you improve your practice. My name is Tony, and I'm the TRAKnet client trainer. Joining me today is Erica. She is one of our customer care representatives. In this webinar, we will be covering questions you as our clients have. All client individuals will be in listen-only mode, so please post all your questions to the questions box in the webinar menu. And also, please make sure your TRAKnet is up to date. And I have on the screen the current TRAKnet version number. And then we can go through TRAKnet right here under our Help menu. Click Check for Application Updates to check for any updates, or click About to view the current TRAKnet version number. All right, Erica, if you can go ahead and get us started with our first question today. Are you there, Erica?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, perfect. The first question is how to complete the security risk analysis.
Okay. How to complete the security risk analysis. The security risk analysis is done outside of TRAKnet. It's to protect patient health information. And to complete that, you must have a listing of the, you must have an outside company do a HIPAA manual for your security, both digital and physical. So that outside company will do a survey of your systems and everything and then give you a HIPAA manual that'll tell you what you need to improve. We recommend 2 companies for that. We recommend HIPAA Secure Now and then TLD Systems. For HIPAA Secure Now, you can find the link on our TRAKnet wiki page. At the TLD Systems, we have an email. Just give our CSS agents a call and they will send your contact information over to them and get that taken care of for you.
All right, thank you, Tony. On the report for quality measures, MIPS macro, there are 2 percentages. Can you explain the difference between these?
Yes, I certainly can. So we'll go ahead and go to our MIPS macro report here. I'm going to expand the date range out a little bit so we get a little more information. And then we'll see we have a data completeness percentage and a performance rate percentage. What the data completeness percentage is, it is a number of individuals that you have put in a code for, a quality code for, versus the total number of individuals that qualify. So if we look here at the top line, the first line, our diabetes, hemoglobin A1C, poor control, we can see that I have 11 patients that qualify, but I've only put in a code for 3 of those 11 patients, so I have a 27.27% completeness. The performance rate is going to be the number of performance met versus total number of people reported on. So if we look at that, I've only reported on 3 people, but all 3 people have a performance code. They don't have a not met. If we look a little bit further down at number 127, we can see here where I have the same numbers. I have 2 for performance met and 1 for not met out of 11 total. So that gives me a data completion of 27%, but it gives me a performance rate of only 66% because out of the people I've reported on, I've only done a performance met code for 2 of the 3 of them. All right. I hope that explains that a little bit better.
Thank you for that, Tony. The next question is for the advancing care information. How do I complete? Protect
sounds like
patient
we've
health
already
information. Just went over that. All right. Where can I find written instructions for completing MIPS macro for 2017?
All right. The written instructions for completing the MIPS macro for 2017 in the TRAKnet application can be found on our TRAKnet wiki page. Easiest way to get there is going to be to go to one of your reports and click the How To button. That's going to bring you to that reports section on the wiki page. So here we have our quality section, goes over all the quality items. If we go to our Advancing Care report, our Advancing Care information, and we click the How To, that's going to take us right to the Advancing Care information section of the MIPS macro, right on our wiki page, where it'll give you a written walkthrough and a video for each of the different sections.
Thank you, Tony. When reporting for quality measure number 226, my patient is not counting, even though they show us completed. Why is that?
All right. For measure 226, that's going to be our smoking measure. There's a bit of an additional item for that. There are a number of CPT codes which qualify the patient for that one only if they have 2 visits. So for this one, and there's a couple other measures that also have that, if we use, like I have here, a 99212 code, the patient's not going to show up on the list until I have a second encounter with that 99212 code, because that is one of the codes that do require 2 visits for that measure. Now, with that measure and a couple of the other measures, there are 2 different sets of codes, one that requires 2 visits and one that requires 1 visit. You can go to the CMS website to get the definition of those codes, and you'll be able to determine which codes require 1, which codes require 2. TRAKnet keeps track of that in the background, so it's not something that you really have to worry about as far as that goes.
Okay. Is the TRAKnet patient portal required for MIPS macro?
No, the TRAKnet patient portal itself is not required for MIPS macro. The TRAKnet patient portal is designed to allow the practice to provide the patients with a way to enter their demographics information, to get certain documents from the office prior to coming in, and to make online payments and request online scheduling. It does not, however, support the secured messaging function required for the MIPS macro. So the way that works is when you send an item over for the patient through our patient engagement, we're actually going to be sending that over to the Microsoft Health Vault patient portal. So if you notice on TRAKnet, we've changed that to send to Health Vault rather than send to portal. It was a bit confusing, so we changed that to make it less confusing. Sending it over to Health Vault, that's a free service for the patients to use to receive those secured messages. So there's no additional requirements to TRAKnet. You don't have to set up the patient portal for that MIPS macro requirement.
Okay, thank you, Tony. For MIPS macro, is this for incoming referrals, outgoing referrals, or both?
All right, the advancing care information has a requirement for both incoming and outgoing referrals. So we'll load up our report here. Our health information exchange is going to require that the eligible clinician who transfers or refers their patient to another setting of care, so you're referring a patient out to another setting of care, maybe a nursing home, maybe a radiology clinic, maybe another specialist for a different condition. When you're doing that outbound referral, this measure requires that you note that you had performed a patient summary and sent it to them electronically. So that one is the outgoing side of it. And then the incoming side is going to be the medication reconciliation, where we want to make sure that we're doing a medication reconciliation for all incoming patients that are coming into us. So any referrals you have in, you want to make sure to get that medication reconciliation noted on that patient. So it is both ways for the MIPS macro requirements.
Okay. Here's a different one. I need to add a new modifier. How can I do this?
All right. Adding new modifiers is done from the Properties tab. So we click on the Properties tab, and the modifier section is going to be in the Property Values. So we go to our Property Values section and go to Modifiers. Adding a modifier is just clicking the Add button, entering the code that'll be used for the modifier, and then entering in the description that you want to have for that modifier. The description isn't necessary, but it definitely helps when you're putting that onto your encounters. So that description is a good idea to have in there to have that kind of cue in case someone is new to using it and they're trying to find it and figure out what it is.
All right, sounds good. How can I batch print encounters and how to save an encounter as a PDF?
All right, batch printing encounters and saving encounters as a PDF are going to be done in the same location. So for batch printing an encounter, we go to our Tools, Print Encounters Batch. Here we're going to have a lot of different search items that'll let us search for our different patient encounters. I'm going to search for the patient I have at the top of my list. And I do apologize. The search information does have to be pretty specific, so it looks like I didn't spell the name quite right. Yeah, there we go. I didn't have the S at the end. Once you've found your encounters that you want to print, you can select the encounters that you want to print. You can select as many as you want, and each of them will print sequentially from the ones you select. To print them, we come over to Options. And here there's the option to print. That'll just directly print the encounters for you. And then putting them to a PDF, you're going to come down to Export. And we have a few options in the export. We have export the encounter to a file. We have to export the encounter to a PDF, which is going to be a PDF document. Then you can export the super bill to a file, PDF, or XML from here as well. And it'll export every one you select to your chosen method.
All right, thank you. The next question that we have here is, how can I add a new item to an existing smart sheet?
Okay. You said, how can I add a new item to an existing smart sheet? There's a couple ways that this can be done. The first way is going to be through our Smartsheet 10. Right when we load up, it defaults to the ICD-9, ICD-10 gems. So we can search for what we want to have for our ICD-9 and ICD-10 codes. When we add these, click the button to bring up the ICD-10 code and add this to the Smartsheet. The top line here on our favorite screen is going to be the Smartsheet that we're adding it to. If we don't select a Smartsheet, it's going to add it to all Smartsheets. If we click our drop down, we can select one of the ones we've previously made, or we can make an additional one, and it'll create that additional smart sheet when we click Add to Practice Favorites. This function is the same when we go from Problems and Diagnosis. So we have our ICD-9 to ICD-10 gems. We search for our ICD-9, ICD-10 gem. We click on our favorite button, and again we have that top line, which we can select our current smart sheet or type in to create a new one. And it's the same from an encounter. It's actually pretty much the same screen as the Problems and Diagnoses. It's going to be right there on the ICD-9 to ICD-10 gems. So everywhere you have that ICD-9 to ICD-10 gems tab, you can add them in as a favorite and select your smart sheet when you add them in as a favorite.
All right, thank you. The next question is, in the Actions tab and then the drop-down menu, do we still need to complete the quality measures section?
All right, that's an excellent question. With the 2017 year, the MIPS MACRA program has changed the way we're reporting quality. Quality is no longer a part of the meaningful use. So we don't need to report it along with meaningful use. So the new quality measures, the quality MIPS macro measures, is going to be the replacement report for that. So we no longer need to go into actions and check off those actions. We're just going to do the quality measures right straight from the encounter, right on that quality measures MIPS macro tab on the encounter.
All right, great question. How can I add or remove marketing referrals is the next one.
Okay, marketing referrals are able to be modified from our property screen. That's going to be under our property value section as well. When we go there, for adding one, we just simply click the add. Want to add a value to it, so if it's maybe a word of mouth referral, maybe it's a commercial referral, and then we want to add a description as well. The description is going to be necessary for this one. It makes it where the reports will pull it more cleanly so you can tell exactly what it is. For removing a marketing referral, we simply search for the marketing referral we want to remove select it. Here, I see I have 2 radio advertisements. I don't need 2 radio advertisements. So I'll go ahead and select it, remove it by just clicking remove. If you had one that you removed that you accidentally removed, you need to bring it back, you can click show deleted, see it, double click it to bring it up, and just click save and that'll restore it for you.
All right. The next question is, can patients make online payments?
Patients can make online payments if the practice has set up their patient portal to do so. Now, it takes a few steps, so I'll go through the steps of setting up that patient portal. The first step we need to do is we need to contact TransFirst and make sure we have a patient portal account set up. It goes along with your TRAKnet account if you have a TRAKnet TransFirst account, but it's going to be a different account, so specifically for the patient portal. Once we have that information sent to us from TransFirst, we're going to go over to our property screen and to our TransFirst merchant accounts. If you look in my system, you'll see here I have 2 accounts. That's going to be the common case with when you're receiving TransFirst payments into TRAKnet and you're receiving TransFirst payments into the patient portal, because you need to have that second account for the patient portal. To add one for your patient portal, you simply add a new TransFirst account, enter all your information in, and put in your patient portal checkbox to identify that it is a patient portal. The next step you're going to need to do is go to our tools and then to options. And we're going to want to go to the patient portal section and make sure we set that default payment type to credit card. It's the only default payment type that'll work there, but it does need to be set here so that when TRAKnet gets those patient portals in, TRAKnet knows that that is supposed to be a credit card payment. Once you've set up the TransFirst account in the TRAKnet application, we'll need to go to our patient portal and log in as our admin. It'll be just a moment here. Looks like I'm going a little bit slow at the moment. All right. On the TransFirst website, we're going to need to set up our TransFirst merchant account here as well. So we'll click the TransFirst merchant account. And then we'll click to create new account. And it's going to be just like it is in TRAKnet. We'll need to enter in that TransFirst information exactly as we have received it from TransFirst. Once we have that information in, you'll be able to review it like it is here. You can edit or delete them if necessary. And then we'll need to return to that home screen and go to our toggle features to make sure that we have allow payments set to allowed. If the allow payments is not set to allowed, the patients won't see the option to make those payments. So we'll want to make sure to come here and make sure it is set to allowed. Once we're done with that, we're done setting it up and the patients will be able to make payments. All right, and do we have another question?
Yes, thank you, Tony. The next question that we have here is how to change the security timeout limit.
All right. The security timeout on TRAKnet is going to be in Options. That's going to be under Security. The security timeout is the first item. It is set by minutes. So you want to decide how many minutes you want it to be before TRAKnet automatically locks itself out if you're not doing anything. So if you're doing things in TRAKnet, it's not going to lock out. If you're not doing anything in TRAKnet, that's the length of time it's going to lock out. The maximum length of time you can put in there is 1 day. Don't think that really applies to an office situation. I think a good safe amount of time would be about 5 minutes. And then if nobody touches the computer after that period of time, TRAKnet locks out and you have to log back in before you can do anything.
All right, the next question is I need to update my gateway information. Where do I do this at in TRAKnet?
All right. The gateway information is found under Tools, in Options, under Gateway EDI. Here you can update or add any gateway information needed. So if at some point you had to reset the website password, maybe it was forgotten, you would want to come here and update that website password. If you had changed sites with Gateway, you would need to come in here and change that site information, and that can be changed or added at any time.
All right, Tony, the next question is how to create a template.
Okay. Creating templates in TRAKnet can be done a couple of ways. The first way is going to be just creating a template right from scratch. We're going to go to our username, go to Manage Templates. We'll want to select the template type that we're going to be creating. This is necessary to create a template. In this case, we'll start with an encounter form. And then from here, we would type in our name for our template. After typing in the name for the template, we would enter in our information that we have here. Sorry, and we want patient name. And then we click Save as New. That saves that template as a new template in TRAKnet. So there we go. That's a new template. And you can put whatever you want in there. If you need to edit it, you can come back and edit it. The second way would be to select the encounter type that you're going to be working with. And in this method, we use a already existing template to start with. So we'll go ahead and load our new SOAP template. We're going to go with an established patient SOAP template. And then we can make our modifications here for what other information that we want to have. We'll take out these links. And then when we update, that creates that new template based on the previous template we had been working with. So there's the way to create a template from scratch, and then there's a way to create a template based on your other templates that you have. I definitely recommend creating templates based on the other templates that you have. That's going to give you the shortest amount of work, but it can be done either way. All right, do we have any more questions?
All right, the next question is how to add a new provider.
Okay. Adding a new provider is going to be done on our Properties tab under Users. For adding a new provider, we'll be adding a new user to the system. And with the provider, it's going to be specific information is going to be needed. So we need to have our demographic information, our first name, last name, address. Putting in the data employed is a good ideal. It's not necessary, but it's definitely a good ideal for tracking purposes. And then we want to make sure we have our password and whether or not we're going to allow scheduling. The necessary information we're going to need to make sure that a provider is going to be our provider info section. TRAKnet's going to be looking for the user to have an MPI number and a taxonomy code. So every time we add a provider, it's important to make sure that we put that information in for TRAKnet to see that it is a provider. And then also, we definitely want to make sure to contact support when we get a new provider to let them know the new provider has started, so we can make any adjustments to the account that are necessary, and get the provider a SureScript provider identifier with TRAKnet so they can write those prescriptions within TRAKnet. All right, do we have any more questions?
So it looks like that's it. If any of our guests have any questions.
Okay. All right, well, before we close out, I'll bring up one thing that I definitely want to make sure everyone knows. For completing our measure of sending out our patient summaries, the health vault item that we had spoken about, I do just really want to go over real quick the difference between the CCDA button and sending those through patient engagement. The patient engagement will allow you to select what template you use. It also allows you to modify that template and select what encounter you're sending out the CCDA for. The CCDA button is going to always use the default patient summary template and the last encounter created. So it is definitely important to remember that when you're sending out those summaries. If you do a billing encounter after you do the encounter where you've seen the patient, you're going to want to use your patient engagement link so that you can select that different encounter before sending it out. All right, looks like we're just about out of time here. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Our client success team will reach out to those whose questions were not answered after the webinar. And also, please join us again in 2 weeks for another FAST-TRAK training lab. And have a wonderful evening, everyone.